Hello.
Hello.
Okay, this is Rohit. I am here to evaluate your Java coding skills. I have got your profile.
Okay.
So I have shared you one question. I will just explain you the question. You can just go through the question once.
Sure. Okay. 1 minute.
Okay.
Yes, now I can see the question.
Okay. You can see that I have told you to create three separate classes. One patient class with the following details: patient name, age, the date of arrival, and the disease. Okay. And then you have two more classes, which are the information class, which has the four details called block number, floor number, room number, and the bed number of the patient. And also, you have one more class called the payment class, which will have the details of registration fees of the patient, admission fees, and the balance amount. Okay, so what I need you to do is, in the patient class you have to create a parameterized constructor, and while we call the patient class constructor, and we have one method also in that, which is called the patient details method. Whenever you are invoking that method, it should give you the details of all the information, the patient's name and all the details, and also it should be relating to the information class details and the patient class payment details. Okay, I hope you got the idea of the question.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, then you can go ahead with the question. Let me see how it.
Okay, so let me start with the reading of the question first. First, I'll understand. I'll take 1 minute to read the question. I'll understand it, and then I'll start working on that. So first, create a patient class with a parameterized constructor to load the following data into each instance. So I have patient name, patient age, date of arrival, DOA, and disease. Your class should have a method called patient details, which when called should display all the attributes. Okay. So basically here from this I'm getting to know that I need to create a class called patient. Inside that, in the constructor of that class, these four attributes will be initialized. Then I need to create the patient detail method inside that class, which is going to display all these details. Now I have given the note as well that in the disease only any one of these I can use. So in this disease attribute, I can either choose malaria, jaundice, influenza, or SARS-CoV-19. Okay. So I've got an idea of what I need to do in the first Java file. On the second part, create an information class which has the parameters block number, floor number, room number, bed. Okay. So I need to create another class called information where the attributes will be these, where the constructor of this class will also have these attributes initialized like how we have initialized the attribute for this. Then we have to create a payment class which has the parameters. Okay, so same another third class will be created called payment, and inside that these will be the attributes of that class. So these are the attributes that I need to initialize, and there will be another constructor called payment which will have these attributes initialized to it, just like how we did for information class and for the patient class.
Yes, exactly.
So now I have to, the main job of this question is, the main task I need to solve is that when we call the patient details method, it should print all these details as well. Okay. So the problem here is that we have three Java files, and in these three Java files, only the first Java file can be used, where the two other Java files has to be called inside this file, so that as soon as I call the patient detail method, which is written inside the first Java file, it should also print the details of the second and the third Java file as well. Okay, so I think that I am going to use loose coupling into this. There is some concept in Java called as loose coupling in aggregation. So I'm going to use that concept, and let us start creating it. So I am going to go into my source folder. I'm going to create a new Java class. First, as the question says, we need to create the patient class. I am going to create the patient class. So patient, and there you go. public class patient I have created. Now let us create all the classes which have been told to us first. So we have a basic idea of what we need to do. Patient class is created. Later on, we will see these things. Next, the second class I need to create is the information class. So there you go, information class and payment class. All right. So in the same source folder, I'm going to create another Java file, Java class file, which is going to be information. And after that, I'm going to create another Java class file called payment. So these are the three files that I need to create. Okay. So let us start with the first one, patient.java. In the patient.java, I need to create these attributes: patient name, patient age, date of arrival, and disease. Okay. So the first step that I'm going to do is that I am going to first initialize these attributes to this class. So first let us declare them. I'm going to take string. I need to give the patient name, right? So patient name. So patient P should be small as it is mentioned in the question, patient name. And after this, we have another variable called as patient age. Then we have, I guess, a string date of arrival. Yes, date of arrival and disease. Okay. So let us create that. So let us take it as a string. Date of arrival, as the question says, I don't have to write the full date of arrival name. As the question says, I need to use this. Then I will say string disease. So these are the four variables. These are the four attributes that we are going to initialize for this patient class. So let us start first by creating the constructor of this class. So I am going to write it as public patient. Patient is going to be the constructor of this class called patient, because as we know, patient, the constructor is a specialized method which is going to be the same, just going to have the same name as the class name. So in the parameters of this, I'm going to pass these attributes, these variables. So I'm just going to copy this so as to increase my speed for this question. And there you go. Okay. Okay, so now we have created this constructor, and in this constructor, let us write the body of this constructor. This dot patient name equals to patient name. This dot patient age equals to patient age. This dot DOA equals to DOA, and this dot disease equals to disease. So we have finally created the constructor of this class. So till here we have finished the question. Your class should have a method called patient details, which when called should display all the attributes. The disease should be of any form. Okay. Let us create this method later on. First, let us finish our template. We need to work with the two other classes as well. So information class and payment class. Okay. So quickly, I'm going to see block number, floor number, room number, and bed number. So in the information class, we will have these four attributes. Okay, so to make my work easier, I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to just write it here as the comment. Okay, so this is going to make my life much more easier. So for block number, I am going to create it as string, or block number, it is going to be a number. So let us create it as int. So int So let us create the block number first. So let us create it as a string. So string block number. Then I'll create int floor number. Okay, so room number and bed number are going to be the same as int, so I'm going to write them in the same line. So room number and bed number. Okay, this is done. I can delete this to make it more attractive, just to make my file much more cleaner. After this, I am going to create its constructor. So public, my class name is information, and inside it, I'm just going to pass these attributes, comma. I am going to create all these attributes one by one. So I'm just going to use the shortcut in this case. And in this, I am going to again write the same thing that I did in the patient class. I'll complete this constructor. This dot room number equals to room number. This dot bed number equals to bed number. Okay. So according to the question, I have created another class which has the parameters. This parameters means I have to create the constructor. So I have also created the constructor and I have already given the whole class here. So I'm done with this part also. Same thing I have to do with this in the payment class as well. So let us start very quickly. And I am going to first create this as, okay, registration fees, admission fees and balance amount can be float variables because it can also have the decimal values as well inside it. So let us do that. So I'll write here float registration fees. Okay, so all of them will be float. So I'm going to do the same thing, admission fees and balance amount. Okay, so I've declared them here. And after this, I'm going to directly create the constructor. So public payment. Okay. Inside this, I'm just going to pass all these together. And then I'm just going to write float here. Okay. So now same thing, I need to do it with the registration fees equals to registration fees. This dot admission fees equals to admission fees. And then I'm going to say this dot balance amount equals to balance amount. Okay, fine. So I am done with this part also. So my basic template is created where inside the patient class I have all these details, information class I have all these details, and payment class also I have all these details into it. Now, next what I need to do is your class should have a method called, okay, so this is going to be inside the patient class where I have to write this method as patient details. So let me just copy this name. So it is going to be a little easy for me to work with this. After this, let us create another method which has public, I'll say it as void, and then patient details. Inside this, I am going to just print one by one. Okay, so let us do this. So let us print all these things first. So I'm going to write here system.out.println. Okay, so first let us print patient name is, I am going to write here this dot patient name. As usual, I'm going to just traditionally print all these things one by one. Patient age is, and I'll say this dot patient age, system.out.println. I am going to write here patient, um, what was this? Date of arrival, yes. So patient date of arrival is, I am going to just give here this dot DOA. By the way, I can make it more a little bit nicer by just writing these patients system.out.println. I want to write here patients. Next is disease. Disease is, and I'm going to write here this dot disease. Okay. Okay. So now this has been done. Okay. So, hmm, the next thing that I would have to do is that when you call the patient details method, these should print, these should be displayed as well. These should be displayed as well. That means these many. Okay. So these attributes has to be displayed here. Okay. Okay. So the thing is that if I say system.out.println now, and if I say this dot, I can't access the methods which are there in the information. So I can't say this dot block number. Okay. 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 So what I need to do is I need to do the loose coupling way. I need to go loose coupling way. So first, what I need to do is I need to create the, okay, let's delete this and let us make it as clean as possible. Information class. Okay, so information class we have. Let us create a variable for this whole information class inside the patient class right here. I'll say information because that is a public class here, so I can directly access it here. Pub information, and I'll say info. Let it be like this. I've not initialized this. Yes. And let me do one thing in the payment method also, because these things has to be displayed as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write here payment, let's say pay as an object. Okay, so what I have done here is that I'm going to do, I have created these two objects called info and pay, and I can just pass these two objects inside the constructor of the patient. So as soon as I call this, it should invoke this constructor, and as soon as the object will be created for this class patient, that object will call the constructor, and that constructor will call all these information which is there in the info and payment. So I'm not doing this directly from inheritance, otherwise it would be tight coupling. I'm going to do it with the loose coupling method. So here it goes. I am going to just copy this info and I'll just give a comma and I'll say info. I'll pass this info directly here inside this. So what I'm going to do is next I'm going to directly just copy this whole and I'm going to give the info here, and I am going to give this here, right here. Okay, so what I have done is like I have created two objects of information class and payment class, and I have passed them in directly inside the constructor of the patient class. So what happens in the constructor of the patient class is that now I have to mention this dot, say I can see info equals to, I can say info, and here I can say this dot pay. equals to pay now. So what I am going to do is, after doing this, what actually I have done is, as soon as I have passed these two objects inside the constructor of the patient, now every time the patient object is created here in the main method, it is going to give the call to this patient constructor, and from that patient constructor it is going to give the call to these objects. So automatically this constructor will possess all the attributes of information class as well as payment class. Now I need to find a method of printing these here. So let us do that. I can segregate. Okay, let me just quickly do that. I'll just try one thing. I'm just going to say patients. If I go here, information, say block number, patients block number is, and if I say here now, this dot, okay, not this dot, I'll say info dot, okay, now I can access it like this. So okay, info dot block number, but there can be multiple patients as well, right? So I need to write here, add this keyword to this. So I'll say this dot info dot block number. So this way I can access the information from the information class for that particular patient. Okay. So same thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this whole thing 3 times. It is block number, floor, room number, and bed number. So this is going to be floor number. Patient's floor number is this dot info. I'm just going to change it to floor number. Okay, after that I have room number and bed number as well. So I can just say room number. I'll change this to room number, and I can say bed number as well. So let's change this to bed number. Patient's bed number is, and this dot info dot bed number. Okay. Okay. So this is done. Same thing I can do with the payments. So payments we have three. So registration fees, admission fees, and balance. So I can just access that using the pay object that I've created up there. So I can say patient's registration fee is this dot it pay dot registration fee. So let me try that very quick. This is what we are doing. This is what we call as loose coupling. And this dot, I'll say here pay, and now I can access dot, see, I can access registration fees easily. So I can just copy this, and because there were three, I need to do it 2 times. Registration fees, then it was admission fees is this dot pay, and this should change to admission fees. And after this, we had balance amount, right? So I'll say balance amount, balance amount is, this is going to change to balance amount. Okay. Yes, I have done this. Let us make it more attractive by making this segregated. Like I'm going to segregate the whole thing. I'm going to say system.out.println right here. I can say here patients uh, details. So I can say here, or I can make it more attractive. I can say just a apostrophe s. And I can say here this dot patient name, actually patient name. So it is going to print something like, if for example the patient name apostrophe s and then details, it is going to print like that. I'll show you how it is going to done. When we will run this code, we will see it. It will be more nicer to look. And then this is just an optional line I have just written. After this, Here, let me add one more line called as this dot patient name concatenating with the string called apostrophe s, and I'm going to say information, and here after this I'm going to say system.out.println. I'm going to say this dot name, patient name, plus I'm going to just say apostrophe s again, and this time I'm going to say payment info. So it is going to look nicer, much more nicer actually, when I just create an object, instantiate an object. Okay, so this will be our patient detail method, and now I can, this whole program, actually this patient detail can easily now print the information from the information and payment details. So this is how we connect the whole thing with the other Java classes. This is what we call as loose coupling. I have first created the object here of information and payment class, and then I have given those two passed those two objects inside the constructor of the patient class, and inside that I just initialized them. After that, I've used those objects dot that particular attribute of that particular class, and then I've connected this keyword so that there will be multiple patients, right? There will be multiple objects. So multiple objects will have different block numbers and different floor numbers, room numbers. So that is why this keyword is important. As we know, the basic concept of object-oriented programming systems, this keyword is very important in Java. After this, finally, it's time to execute our program, and I am going to create the object. So first of all, let us create another class. uh, as we practice in industry, that we don't do everything inside the same class. So I'm going to say as patients, I'm going to say at patient details. This will be another class. Inside this, I will write my main method. And inside this main method, I am going to first create the patient object. So patient p1 equals to new patient. And now it is asking me the value of print age, patient's name, then patient age, date of arrival, disease. Now this is asking me information for info and payment. Okay, so for that I need to create another object for information info and payment pay. So first let us give the information of patient name. So let us say some random name. I am going to say patient name as Gopal. I said Gopal is going to be the patient name, and I said patient age is 23, for example. Date of arrival, because it is a string, let us give it as anything, any value. I said 20, I passed 20 July 2022. Okay. After this, I am going to give the disease name. So as the question says, I can use any one of these diseases. So I am going to take this disease as of now, and it is going to be inside the quotes because it is a information. It's a string information. Okay, it is going to give me an error. This is not enough because as we know that we have created the information info and payment pay object which we have passed inside the constructor of the patient class. So that means now it is going to expect information info and payment pay. Okay, so we can't give the information info and payment pay right here because for that we need another constructor. So what I can do is I can create another variable, another object for the information class. I can say information. I can say info p1 equals to new info, new information. And inside here, I can pass the block number, floor number, room number, and bed number of this patient 1. Okay, yes. So let us say the block number for patient 1 is A block, which is going to be inside the string. Okay. And then after this in floor number, let us say it is on the first floor. It was also, I guess it's a string. Okay, int floor number, it was integer number. So I'm going to give it as, let's say fun 1. So for first floor, then we had a room number. Room number is also an integer number. So I say 102, let's say, for example, and after that bed number, let's say 1. Okay. So this is an object which we have created, and I can create similarly. Now I can pass this object actually inside the constructor of this class and separated by comma. Now it is asking me, it is expecting me payment pay. Okay, so now I need to initialize another object for the payment class where I can say pay p1 equals to new payment. Okay, so this is going to create an object of that payment class where I'm going to give the detail of registration fees for patient 1, admission fees for patient 1, and balance amount for patient 1. So these values are float values. So I'm going to give them as registration fees. Let us say some random number 10,000 is going to be the registration fees. I am going to just say dot 00f because it is going to be a float number, of course. After this, I'm going to say float admission fees. Admission fees, let's say 50,000 dot 00f. And after this, I am going to create the balance amount. Okay, so balance amount is going to be, let us say, 5,000 dot 00f and finish this. Okay, now I can say pay P1. Yes, now we have created a object which has all the values of its own file as well as the information and payment info of that particular patient from another classes from their particular objects. This is what we call as loose coupling. I'm going to create another patient to demonstrate the whole purpose. I'm going to create another patient, say patient, I say P2 equals to new patient, and inside this, let us quickly pass some random values. I am going to say patient name as Ramu, comma. I'm going to print the age as um, 20. Say this is going to be on 20 August 2022. And disease as again I can only take these diseases, so let us take influenza, copy as the value for the disease attribute. And after this I have to again pass this patient's P2's patient's info and payment info. So for that I need to create another objects of the payment class and the information class. So the same thing, I'm going to give some comments here. uh, Initializing the values for information and payments classes. Okay, so this is for P1, and next it is going to be for P2, where I'm going to just copy and paste it. Instead of this is going to be P2 and this is going to be P2, and here I can just say change the values so that it looks a little bit different. I'm going to give the second floor is going to be 202, bed number 2. For him change the values. Admission fees is for him is this amount is going to be 15, let's say, random details. Okay. And now, just like how I've passed these two values, let me quickly pass the values here also. And I can just pass P2 object and pay P2. So, and here I'm instantiating the objects of uh, patient class. Okay, so finished. This is going to look good. I am going to try to run this program. So first, I need to call these methods, right? So let me do that quickly. I am going to say P1 dot. I'm directly going to say patient details, and I'm going to say P2 dot patient details. Okay, now time to run this code. It took a lot of time to build this code. Um, I hope it is going to run fine.
Okay, let's see.
I'm going to right click, run this code. Okay. Oh, there you go. The details of each patient has been printed. Can just segregate it properly just by writing one more sentence here. After this, I am going to concatenate it here with /n actually. So it is going to be much more nicer if I run this code now. The details of each patient is going to be printed separately. Sir, this is going to be looking like this. I hope you have understood what I've done in this code.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that your coding skills are good, and I got my answer, whatever I was looking for. So you have used loose coupling in the program, and you have implemented that. Fine, I got my answer, and I have done my evaluation. Our team will be getting back to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Fine, bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you.